When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and I have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not of the same blood or birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. Maybe not a big share. And so none of them can hurt me. No one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are obstructions. Aren't these words great? They were written by Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor whose bronze statue is still standing proudly in Rome to this day. You might have seen it. He's sitting on the horse and holding his hand out like this. Welcome back to the book club. Today we are going to talk about his work called The Meditations. I read this book for the first time when I was 16 years old, and I remember I was very impressed by its powerful message and the thoughts of the emperor. And now in these days I decided to read this book again, and I have to say I did not regret it. First, a little bit about Marcus Aurelius. He wasn't born in the imperial family, and his accession to the throne was almost accidental. In the year 137, the reigning emperor at that time, Hadrian, who was childless, decided to follow his predecessor's example and chose a senator to succeed him on the throne, under a condition that two boys from noble families that he picked himself would take the throne after. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but this is what happened, and Marcus Aurelius, together with Lucius Verus, took charge of the Roman Empire, beginning from the year 161. It wasn't a quiet period in the history of the empire. Marcus and Lucius had to deal with threats coming from the east and the west. In the east it was the powerful Parthian Empire, to the east of Rome, and those were the German tribes to the west. After defeating the Parthians in the east, the problems didn't end. They were not gone with that, as the Roman troops coming back home brought back a plague, which was probably a smallpox, that would be devastating the Roman Empire for the next 20 years. And it killed about 1/3 of the population of the empire, 5 million people. The plague also took the life of Marcus's co-emperor, Lucius, leaving Marcus in power alone. What is interesting is that at that same time, there are also reports in Chinese sources about a deadly plague, so surely these things are connected. Probably it came to Europe through the Silk Road. So this book was written in the last decade of Marcus's life, when he was in constant war with Germanic tribes. He also had to deal with other misfortunes in his life, such as the plague, death of his family members. But Marcus Aurelius, as a philosopher, the philosopher that he was, writes here a little bit touching on the subject of the plague. Listen, this is very interesting. Real good luck would be to abandon life without ever encountering dishonesty, or hypocrisy, or self-indulgence, or pride, ever encountering. But the next best voyage is to die when you've had enough. Or are you determined to lie down with evil? Has an experience even taught you that? To avoid it like the plague? Because it is a plague, a mental cancer, worse than anything caused by tainted air or an unhealthy climate. Diseases like that can only threaten your life, meaning the plague. This one attacks your humanity. Great, isn't it? He would probably be very surprised to know that we are reading his meditations right now, as he never planned to publish them. They were just notes to himself. And that gives us a rare glimpse into his mind. Even the title, Meditations, is of course not his. In the earlier sources, the text was circulating under a title to himself. Now, this was written in the Stoic tradition, so a little bit about Stoicism. The movement takes its name from the Stoa, which in ancient Greek means porch or portico in downtown Athens, where its founder Zeno taught and lectured. Perhaps the most important and central doctrine of Stoicism is the unwavering conviction that the world is organized in a rational and coherent way. They believed that the world is controlled and directed by the all-pervading force that they called Logos. So what about the free will, would you say? Did they not believe in it? Good question. Of course they did, but they believed that your relationship with this Logos was something like of a dog tied up to a wagon. You can run with it, or you'll be dragged along anyway. Here I have something for you, an interesting quote. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into this world to do? Or is this what I was created for, to huddle under the blankets and stay warm? But it's nicer here. So you were born to feel nice? Instead of doing things and experiencing them, don't you see the plants, the birds, the ants, the spiders, the bees going about their individual tasks, putting the world in order as best as they can? And you are not willing to do your job as a human being? Why aren't you running to do what your nature demands? But we have to sleep sometime. Agreed, but nature sets a limit on that, and it did as it did on eating and drinking. And you are over the limit. You've had more than enough of that, but not of working. There you're still below your quota. And this one I love. People who love what they do wear themselves down doing it. They even forget to wash or eat. When they're really possessed by what they do, they'd rather stop eating and sleeping than give up practicing their arts. Here's another quote that I marked for you. Interesting. To expect a bad person not to harm others is like expecting fig trees not to secrete juice, babies not to cry, horses not to neigh, the inevitable not to happen. Perhaps the most beautiful one of them. Death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back. It's beautiful. And like in this passage that I'll read for you right now, what else did you expect from helping someone out? Isn't it enough that you've done what your nature demands? You want a salary for that too? Is as if your eyes expected a reward for seeing or your feet for walking. That's what they were made for. By doing what they were designed to do, they're performing their function. Whereas humans were made to help others. And when we do help others or help them to do something, we are doing what we were designed for. We perform our function. Here, and in many other places, he writes repeatedly that people were created to help each other, to give other people a hand, to help others stand up, not to suppress someone, not to try to destroy the person next to you, and also not to be indifferent, as indifference is the same as doing harm. And whichever color of the skin you are, whichever God you believe in or not believe, to be strong, compassionate, and forgiving. These are the qualities that make a real man, a person that will be remembered even after thousands of years, just like we remember Marcus Aurelius. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the book club. Let me know what you think, if you read it or you will. Hope you'll have time for this, and I will see you in the next